Okay, so hi everyone. Sorry for the technical issue on the audio. So today's agenda will start with where we are in terms of open source solution landscape today. We will also take a look at the enterprise content management piece of the solution section on the open source, and how Efisoft and Alfresco fits into the open source solution landscape to provide enterprise document capture kind of solution. And then we will have our colleague Michael, who will take us through some of the specific use cases which are applicable in the banking and financial domain. And then we will end the presentation with a brief introduction and overview of Efisoft and CICNEX Datamatics, and how both of us together can basically help companies in creating document capture solution using open source stack. Now, if we see, in general, where is open source today? So we have come a long way. We have come a long way from developing sites, communities, and content kind of application to a high value chain solution with complex business applications and deriving insights out of big data kind of scenarios, and then having basically an intelligent search mechanism kind of thing out of federated document information content repositories. So if we go to take a sneak look at the enterprise content management domain, so what we are seeing in terms of the trend is we bought different types of solutions in the last 10-15 years. So some people have SharePoint, some have Documentum, then Alfresco, and some other custom homegrown solution. Now, the key trend, in any enterprise IT system landscape is there are hybrid systems. What does it mean is there are one or at least two systems which are there in the enterprise IT roadmap. And then the demand for a specific content-driven application is growing, and users are also asking to have an integration point with their specific business application. And because of the mobility coming into picture, people want content anywhere, and then that drives the requirement for multi-channel and mobility related apps for people to consume content. And that grows the risk in an IT organization to implement or have some sort of governance mechanism wherein the IP is of a particular organization is secure. There is a low amount of risk on information leaks and things like that. So the priorities for enterprises today is to manage the risk out of the overflow of content all over the place, have some streamlined operation on in terms of collaboration processes, increase engagement of users on the platform, and having done all this, how do we feed the usage-based measurements and intelligence back into the system to enhance user experience? So that's the key priorities which we see evolving today. On the requirement landscape, if we see, what customers are asking more and more is basically, the one area is definitely the traditional document management, contract management kind of solution, and definitely that will continue. What is the change? What we are seeing is the need to automate the document collaboration workflows across different systems as well as different business applications from where the data can be transferred both inbound and outbound. So let me give you an example. So in a contract management kind of scenario, so a contract is, the document is put by an internal legal team, and then it goes across multiple review. So that forms the workflow within the system. And when finally the document contract is signed, it goes to the back-end system of record kind of application wherein the contract is initiated and realized in the enterprise. So those kind of solutions are evolving at a much faster pace than it used to be before. Interaction with different types of systems in the IT landscape to ease the the operations as well as increase the findability of content anywhere. And other areas, the performance asks, and then the multi-channel publishing, scalability, etc., have been in the foreground of the requirement. One key piece which is driven mostly by the compliance and document protection kind of information protection kind of requirement is digitization, more and more digitization of physical documents and extracting the key information so that the search is easier for people to locate a specific piece of information which has business relevance. So that is picking up. Now, moving forward, if we look at the entire landscape of engagement, at the core is going to be your capturing, managing the information, preserving it and delivering it. But there are different channels which actually enhances the level of engagement and the type of engagement for a particular business use case. So some of the use cases are driven by analytics, some are with enterprise search, then social collaboration, multi-channel, mobility kind of thing. Now one key ask when we talk about document capture solution is automation and auto classification. So when I am ingesting, basically capturing different types of documents from different sources, how do I automatically classify those documents based upon certain attribute fields, values, and parameters which are embedded in the document, written in the document, and then that could actually help me organize the document structure, my taxonomy, etc. So a lot of automation intelligence are being built into that area to manage the volume of content what we have when we capture physical documents. So here one open source platform which comes for from the solution perspective is Alfresco, which provides an open source platform for basically enterprises which can help in terms of both content management within the repository as well as integration and basically mini application built out of integration with different kind of downstream systems. And there are different types of deployment model which can be leveraged depending upon the use case. So when it is a matter of interacting with external vendor, we can have an in the cloud, so on the cloud kind of implementation. When we have internal audience to be collaborating, we can go for an on-premise full-fledged ECM deployment. system deployment. And when we have to do both, and there is a need to integrate with mobile as well as ability to sync internal content as well as external content, then possibly we can look at a hybrid deployment model wherein we have one instance within the premises and one cloud instance, and then specific areas are synchronized based upon business rules and things like that. Now we will look at what are the key drivers for enterprise document capture kind of solution in the financial sector. So one is definitely the volume and the type of documents and the content which are under business operations. The other driver is controlling the cost aspect, so that remains a priority. Then the regulatory and compliance requirements, the automation of business processes and workflow to achieve the speed, and speed to serve the customers, and collaboration across different departments and as well as external agencies and vendors. And one area which is a very I would say is a key optimizer for all the processes which are there in financial sector. When somebody writes a form, either a PDF or a handwritten form, how do we automate the information capture and how quickly we can digitize that information so that it can go and be fed in the further business process and the life cycle. So here, if we look at the combo Effisoft and Alfresco, so it addresses the key use cases for financial sector when it comes to these key drivers for this kind of high volume document capture and process automation kind of solution. So one is definitely document tracking, which division, which branch, which document, which customer type, etc. So that information, there is an embedded intelligence in Effisoft to track that. Then the ingestion can be automated, and basically the content from different sources like FTP inbound or an HTTP inbound or a file server inbound kind of thing can be configured. The sorting can be done with predefined rules, and then the data extraction can be done with the predefined templates, what kind of data we are getting. So validation and verification of the data, as well as internal data elements after extracting the information from the physical document. So those kind of things, that is the functional offering where Effisoft comes into picture. When it comes to preserving, storing the content, applying the workflow, enforcing certain business rules, building a scalable repository, integration with different systems, feeding the captured information to mainstream business application, that is where Alfresco comes into picture, along with multi-channel publishing, as well as global access to users and things like that. And this is the flow, very high-level flow where how the capture process works and how does it integrate with Alfresco, and then in turn how Alfresco serves the captured information to mainstream business applications. So this is a very high-level view of that, wherein we scan documents and then we separate them, we tag them, which we call index, and then using OCR and ICR technology, we do extract information from individual fields in a particular document, and then which gets stored in Alfresco, and from there it goes to the mainstream business application through different types of web services based, service oriented apps based integration. Now, if we have to look at, the feature comparison with proprietary solution provider versus Effisoft and Alfresco combo, now the key asks and the key features which anybody would look at in an enterprise document capture solution. So in a nutshell, there is a thumbs up for each of those features, be it metadata search, be it a fuzzy database, or a remote scanning. So everything is possible when we come to Effisoft and Alfresco solution. Whereas different proprietary solutions provide some bits and pieces here and there, but if we have to look, end to end, Alfresco and Effisoft is the combo which gives all these functional capability for building a document capture solution. From a cost perspective, if we look, now the lowest proprietary solution, if we look at the numbers, Alfresco Effisoft combo solution comes 1/3 of the nearest minimum. So, so from cost perspective, this is definitely beneficial. The total cost of ownership is significantly reduced to the extent of 90% here. If we look at long-term cost, so that's the saving one can look for when we go for an open source model. Now I will be handing over to Mike, and he will be talking specifically about the application of document capture kind of solution using Effisoft and a few use cases. So Mike, over to you.
Okay, thank you, So good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Michael Smith, the Senior Account Manager here at Effisoft, where we've really created a simpler, elegant, and more powerful approach to document classification and data extraction. We're really changing the landscape of capture by offering a completely different approach to the market while keeping the same deep functional capabilities as any legacy capture solution. As you know, in today's digital world, businesses need to quicker than ever, and this is constantly reshaping business models. So nothing remains the same anymore, and staying competitive means getting much more agile, adaptive, and aligned. Digital also presents a lot of opportunities to stand out in today's competitive landscape and to outperform the industry rivals. So as you have seen so far in today's presentation, and we're going to let you discover now how Effisoft and Alfresco can lead all finance departments and departments with lots of documents to process with our outstanding technology that will give you a massive return on investment in a short period of time. So these are some of the trends that we see in a capture project. So advanced data extraction is really required so that the intelligence in documents isn't actually lost. So the data is extracted and entered, and all the metadata is entered into the ECM system, hence this consolidation of document capture and ECM. And this leads us to projects that Effisoft and Alfresco have been very successful on in distributed capture and digital mailroom processes. So the challenges that we see, or the reasons customers are coming to Effisoft and Alfresco, is because they need to increase this automation to make their processes easier. We add value to the document processing, and in a record amount of time, a lot of cost savings that are possible too. So the priorities customers have really are to improve the collaboration. We have a cloud-ready product as well, so available on-premise and in the cloud. And we have mobile applications as well with our SDK kit. So an example for a B2C case in a bank is a bank in Italy using us for customers who are actually paying in checks on their mobile phones without the need to actually go to the bank physically. So this is part of our automated classification. So if I give you a little bit of background here on Effisoft, then this is the leading innovator of advanced capture and unstructured document data discovery technologies, on-premise, in the cloud, and on mobile. As Ahmed slightly mentioned, we have many executives who worked in the capture space. So these were people who worked at the proprietary legacy capture systems like Kofax, in the same way as many executives and the founders of proprietary ECM software like Documentum with John Newton, they are also the founders of Alfresco, hence this trend from proprietary towards open source software. So we actually performed the first mortgage classification project, and we're really bringing innovation to this stagnant industry. The company is only 5 years old, founded in 2010 in Laguna Hills in Southern California, where our HQ is, and we have offices in London, Rome, and India. One of our major investors is Fujitsu, and our compound annual growth rate was over 100% last year, allowing us to be 418th on the fastest growing 500 companies in the world this year. So if you can remember 3 things from this presentation, I would really like it to be automation, speed, and cost saving, because Effisoft really does provide automation at ingestion. It reduces the time reviewing the documents, extracting the key data, and further automating the business processes, and reduces the time in turn to process these documents. So processing documents manually is expensive and time consuming, and Effisoft can automate this classification and data collection process for you. It can extract critical information from your physical and electronic documents in record time without the need for adding separator sheets or barcodes. And value, as we add value to your documents by automatically capturing and extracting content which is vital to your business and speeding up paper to process activities and improving the customer response. So Effisoft really saves businesses money by providing automation and a streamlined computerized processing step. So if we look at a case study from one of our customers in the US, so Interbank, this was an organization that took around 9 months to decide which software they're actually going to use for their classification and data extraction projects. But their worker productivity after they did choose the Effisoft Alfresco combination was an increase of 700% in 12 months. Reduced processing time by 67%, many manual processes obviously were removed, and an accuracy rate has been achieved of over 90% at this organization. This also allowed them the capacity to win business without adding new workers, because the workers had their time freed up to be able to do more important and valuable tasks. Another example here of e-replacement parts, another US company, where again decision time was only 6 months for the implementation of the project, though, with several types of documents for several different projects. The 3-month implementation time is still relatively short. Hundreds of hours of employee time were saved, and again, you will see this many times. Invoice accuracy was improved, and manual data entry was eliminated. So, as you can imagine, we work with all sorts of verticals in all sorts of use cases, but we do have particular success in the banking, financial services, and insurance sectors. Document-driven processes do continue to grow, and automating the process with ECMs and BPM systems is common practice. But how many companies still leverage these costly employees to manually enter these documents, leaving more than 80% of the intelligence trapped inside the unstructured document. So we got some examples here with imaging and mailroom teams that can actually exceed 150 or 200 employees in some organizations just to ingest content. And human resources, accounts payable, new account opening, and claims processing are all examples of where these problems exist. So what is different with Effisoft and why is it better? So firstly, compared to our competitors then, Kofax and Captiva have adopted for many years now a click charge system. We don't have that here at Effisoft, and you really just pay for what you use. So one 4-core CPU is capable of handling between 3 and 5 million pages per year. There are no real limits or restrictions like with a pay-per-click system, which actually discourages users to use the software as they know they will have to pay more. But please don't try and run 1 million images on one day because of this physical limit, as you don't want smoke coming out of the server. So most European languages are covered. 180 are actually supported as the solution is thin client, and this will allow again a cost reduction with no IT intensive setup, especially in the long run. So compatibility issues are a thing of the past, making the initial setup and future upgrades as easy as pie. So you can use your preferred browser, either Chrome, Internet Explorer, or Google, or Firefox on any operating system. So the net result really, as samples required for Effisoft to be able to actually learn a file, is only 1 or 2 on average. 50 to 100 samples are actually quite often required with our competitive products just to be able to teach the software to learn and identify a file. This does seriously affect the implementation time. Most requirements that customers have on scanning projects are actually available in the out-of-the-box, ready-to-use Effisoft Smart Capture. So we always talk about the use of open standards, and this is about open source and Java-based products, so much easier to integrate. We have created Effisoft Smart Capture to work in almost exactly the same way on Linux and Windows platforms. It's CICNEX compliant, so it isn't actually just Alfresco that we can be compatible or integrated with, but any CICNEX compliant system. We use open and RESTful APIs without installing plugins, and Effisoft is actually the only document capture and extraction system to employ these RESTful APIs, which make ERP, CRM, document management, and other back office and personal productivity programs document capture enabled. So you won't really need to learn a new application to extract information from documents. Just as I mentioned, we work with OpenText RecoStar and Tesseract engines. That's how we support up to 180 languages, including Arabic and Chinese. And any scanner with a Twain driver or a PaperStream driver is also compatible with Effisoft. So if we look at a very simple diagram for an invoicing process, so this is a workflow that's been created between Effisoft and Alfresco, where conditional workflows are kicked off by an email connected to Alfresco with Effisoft working in the background that can be validated with the ERP or AP system. So this is to check that the amount on the invoice is correct. Approval processes are based on the rules that you've set in this workflow, and all the emails, tasks, metadata updates are being handled by Alfresco's core components. A signature can be added to this workflow as well, and that will lead us to a final check where, as part of the workflow, the PO paid is tagged, and then the PO that's arrived is moved from the new invoice folder in Alfresco to a paid folder, and then a paid date tag is applied, and this is the end of the process. So I wonder if your processes look like this. So just to give you some examples, you see a few organizations in the banking, financial services and insurance sector. We do work with many sorts of organizations, but these are some of our larger companies. So we've helped all over the world customers in many different countries, improving their workflow, improving automation. We've seen some diagrams of some very strange workflows that are time consuming and costly, and many of these customers have chosen, instead of using those processes, that they would be Effisoft customers and make their lives a lot easier. So thank you for listening. It's been an excellent webinar. Thank you, as well. This is obviously a great combination for Effisoft and Alfresco, and if you do have any questions, please come back to us.
All right, thanks a lot, Michael, for that really insightful session on how Effisoft is being leveraged to bring about some kind of a digital revolution in the banking sector or in the financial sector. So just now, I would just like to give you a brief introduction of CICNEX Datamatics, the company, and we'll take questions immediately after that. So CICNEX Datamatics is a pure play open source consulting company based in the Silicon Valley, with over 500 plus open source implementations and with 500 plus consultants. We have been a major contributor to the open source community since the year 2000, with over 14 books authored and more than 5,000 plus community contributions. So in terms of our service offerings, we basically we partner various technology firms in the open source world, like Liferay for portals and collaboration, MuleSoft as well. We also, we're pretty closely associated with Effisoft and Alfresco when it comes to enterprise content management, and we help them with the entire end-to-end content management services. When it comes to big data analytics, we provide
the ability for enterprises to glean insights out of their databases, and we partner people like Hadoop and MongoDB. Internet of Things is the new buzzword, and we obviously have significant expertise to offer for Internet of Things use cases. And when it comes to e-commerce, we're pretty skilled in terms of developing an e-commerce store for companies as well, partnering Magento over there. In addition to all this, we are offering something called as OPERA, which stands for Open Source Readiness Assessment. This is basically a framework that helps enterprises to achieve digital transformation, at the same time rationalize their IT portfolio to kind of optimize on costs. So here is a quick overview of who our partner ecosystem is. We have the likes of Alfresco for document management, Drupal for digital marketing and web content management, Moodle for learning management, and obviously Effisoft for document capture, imaging, scanning, and the like. Apache Solar for enterprise search. So this is just who we are and what we do. So anyway, I would like to thank you all for having taken the time to attend the webinar today. I hope you found it very interesting. In case if you want to discuss any of your business needs or challenges beyond this webinar, feel free to reach out to us at info@cicnex.com. I repeat, it's info@cicnex.com. At this point in time, we can take some questions from the audience. So feel free to type in your questions on the chat window. I guess, Michael, there is one question which did get typed during the webinar. Was somebody was asking us about how Effisoft could possibly do a mobile capture.
Okay, so that's the two examples I have then of the mobile capture. I was going to give one that's more related to finance. So we have several banks, a couple in the US, where in rural areas especially, it's slightly more difficult to get to a bank. So on a smartphone, the mobile SDK kit that can be customized by a partner or us, if it's a very simple requirement, and then people can take checks, a photo of their check on their mobile phone, and then send that to the bank's repository. So this is a project we're working on in many countries, and this is again a push towards the paperless environment, because afterwards that check can be just thrown away because it will just arrive in the bank's repository. For insurance companies, not so much for finance, for a B2B use case, and I will find out some more key details on the mobile app for the finance companies after the call if you require this. We have insurance companies where people have gone out from the insurance company to validate documents or validate insurance claims, even to take photos of an accident, for example, or an incident in a house with a flooding. This is what we've seen in some of our council customers, and this again can be taken in photo by the mobile SDK, SnapDoc through the phone. It will go straight into the repository, and this is very good for when field managers who are not necessarily in the office very often need to just take a photo or take a validated document and take a photo of that and send it back to the repository in the office.